Hello, and good evening. Welcome back to, this is Modern Communications Session 3. Remember, I just want to give you a couple of updates. All the videos are on our website, churchoftheheartland.com. You can also go out there and take our test for credit. That'll be up there here in the next couple of weeks. Actually, for the people in the video, it'll be up there for you by the time you watch it. And if you have a hard time finding where the Growth Track page is, again, churchoftheheartland.com, and then just go to the Growth Track tab, and everything is right in there. We're going to be picking up kind of where we left off last time with 5 tips to communicate with modern technology. I do have to warn you a little bit. Last couple sessions have been a lot of theological stuff. This is not that anymore. This is more or less put into action type things. Some of these are for maybe like a pastor type that's trying to get the church built up for modern technology. Maybe this is for your own personal social media. And then, of course, some of this is just me ranting, and so that you guys are forced to hear. Awesome. So, so we're going to stick with 5 tips to communicate with modern technology. We talked about this a little bit. When you're looking at a video, remember to look at the camera, not yourself. I am the type of person that will look at the camera, or not look at the camera, look at myself and get, it's when you're looking at on your phone, it always just looks like you're looking like, it'd be like if I was looking, it'd be like at my shirt. Like, what are you looking down there? Eyes are up here, joke, anyways. So that's really important to look at the camera when you're doing that. If you can also film it horizontally, that really helps because there are different types of methods you can put. For YouTube example, when you film it like this instead of like this, it gets a little complicated. So when you put those formats on horizontally, it transfers a lot better if you just do it the horizontal way. For that sense. What next I have here? If you have a social media post, this is specifically if you're running a page or something like that, try to have a picture with each post. That we talked about kind of what the statistics are for visuals last time. Remember that we understand information so as 60,000 times faster than we did if we just read it. So it's really important if you can find some image, even if it's not like word for word what you're going to say, just an image that kind of relates to that. That's a really great tool to use for that. Next one. When taking pictures and videos, take them horizontally. Cannot stress that enough. That is such a huge part of one of my rants. I will have many rants in this one. I do apologize. That is one of my rants. Never use Comic Sans. That font has slowly died, and we're going to put him away forever. There are awesome fonts that you can use. Classics like Times New Roman. Just please don't bring out Comic Sans. I will give you one exception if it has to deal with children, like a kids ministry. I will accept that. Any other is unacceptable to me. I will call you out on it from here on forth. For my last tip, my 5th one, for social media specifically, we'll talk a little bit about this more in depth. Please don't do if you don't tag 10 friends in this, like a leprechaun dies or something like that. That makes me angry. Again, another rant from Hagen. That's one of those things that just seems like if you send me one of those, I don't want to look at that message at all. I probably just go straight to delete, and I apologize because I'm that mean. But that is a rant problem that I have. So taking steps from the 5 tips to communicate onto technology in church. We have a lot of technology that we involve in church, and throughout the years, technology has completely changed. I mean, from the first century, it was church was really just some people in a room talking and singing and praising. We do that still. That is still the idea of what we do, but it has continued with different technology so that we can get our message as a church across to the unsaved. That's the idea of why we use technology in church. It's not to I don't know how to say this. It's not just to be the cool new hip guys. It's to be, hey, there are people out there that I think they would be able to receive more information and receive it better if we adapted new technology in that way. So one of my first points is that it is okay to adapt new technologies to your church services. This includes a couple different things that we use here. For us at Church of the Heartland, we do use new lights and sound systems, and we have video cameras so that people can be able to receive the information without it being distracting. We are the church that has drum sets, and that is debatable. I am a drummer, so I really like drum sets. But a lot of churches think they're a little too loud and a little too rock and roll. We have seen as a non-denominational church that people from other churches, not other churches, from the non-Christian background, they come in and they can kind of experience what a worship service like we do, and they're not too jarred by it. It's kind of an easy transition. If they do listen to rock and roll, they realize, hey, a drum set still sounds like a drum set. We just sing about God instead of drug, sex, and rock and roll. So it is okay to adapt new technology. The younger generation has taken notice of these things, and that's why huge churches have adapted to more of this method, whether it be different denominations. So a couple people that come to my head, I think it's Vertical Church. They're actually Southern Baptist, and they have one of the largest worship teams that has drums and things like that. And so it's not like, because the stereotype is Southern Baptist people are doing the ones where they have a piano. That's not the case. Large churches realize what they're doing, realize why they're doing this all together. So if you do have a church, if you have a church that's kind of lagging behind to visitors, it can remind them of a funeral home, which they are not a huge fan of. They want to make it lively and energetic. So that's there are easy ways to adapt new technologies to the church, and how we do that all together. And that's kind of what my next point is, that it is getting easier and cheaper to be more professional day by day. So we here at Church of the Heartland, we are not a mega church. We do not have millions and millions and millions of dollars to just throw around for technology. Churches like Hillsong and Elevation, they do, and so they get the newest, coolest stuff, which is like a dream list that I have in my head, but that will never happen. But you can have very professional-looking things for a lot cheaper than you did almost 10 years ago. So here at Church of the Heartland, we use moving lights and things like that. The more professional you get, the more expensive they are. That's kind of how that works. But you don't have to pay too much for them. Probably the cheapest moving lights you can get, probably about $100. You can get 2 of those, and it still looks pretty professional for what you want to do. So you can easily upgrade what you want for a cheaper price. For sound systems altogether, they're getting cheaper and cheaper each time, so mostly because new technologies are coming in as technology works for the sound industry. I have this problem with this board. The next model of that fixes that problem, and then that still has a problem, and each one is getting better and better and better until eventually it's going to be, I'm never going to upgrade because this thing is the bomb. So we have a couple different things where I talked about how I was in the Narrow last year. We had a sound system that could record music live through the soundboard and we could edit it while we were playing. It was a really cool opportunity that we had. We can mess with it while we were playing live. But that board, that costs a couple $1,000s. But in 10 years, that board will probably cost more hundreds of dollars. They will never be like 10 cents, 10 cents at a pawn shop or something like that. But they're always pretty cheap. The more older they are. I think that's improper grammar, but oh well. Camera quality has also gotten a lot cheaper as well. Hello, camera people. We are slowly upgrading here at Church of the Heartland our camera qualities and things like that. A cool thing about our cameras is that they are upgrading and getting smaller. One of our cool things that we've looked into is having cameras maybe like there or there, and those cameras you wouldn't be able to even see at all out there. Back in the 1960s and 70s, for television they had cameras that were this big that you could see. They're not required that anymore. Our camera that we have right here, it's about this big, and our lens is it's not that big. And it's a pretty good camera. It's pretty new, but it's also a kind of a cheaper version that you can just use for what we need. And that's what I specify the most. Use what you need, not what you completely want. It's easy to get lost in the dream list of sound and engineering things. As myself, as a sound and lights guy, I'm always like, I need the newest and coolest things because I want them. That's not how that works, but it is good to see what they have coming out and things that are getting cheaper. One of the cool things about churches, especially for us, we don't have to be the pioneers of that new sound system or something like that. You just have to be kind of in the game. That's what we're doing here. So we have lights and things like that, and they're not like millions and millions of dollars, like I said. They're pretty basic things, but we're still in the game here in rural northwestern Indiana. That's still what we do. So it's kind of an easier way to forward on your sound and your lights and your cameras. You don't have to be, like I said, the super great guys. You don't have to be the Hillsongs who have canoodles of money to just throw around, but just kind of be in the atmosphere of kind of upgrading slower and slower. One of the few things that we're working on for Church of the Heartland is working on different camera angles. So right now for Growth Track, we have the one camera. Again, hello camera people. But in the future, maybe down the line, we would like to get something where you can move around different camera angles for a cheaper rate. Right now, you would have to buy a kind of an adapter, which you plug all your cameras into, and then switch to different camera angles, and that can be kind of a pain doing live. But already technology has kind of changed. I think just now they've figured out how to do it through a phone, which is really cool. But that technology is expensive. So what do? Well, we just wait because we're not the pioneers. We just got to wait in the game. So we're going to wait probably, 5, maybe 6 years, and then be able to do that in a really a professional way. And that leads me to my next point is that professionalism is really what we're going for. I always like going to a church that is very professional. That does not mean they don't have to be, family and friendly. I feel like sometimes they say that if you're professional, you don't have the family environment. That is not the case. We want to be friendly and have that family, you're welcome here atmosphere, while also being that all of our sounds sound good and we don't have too much feedback, and it's inevitable. Feedback is inevitable. If you're wondering, it is the worst, and we have to deal with it always. But so that kind of leads me down to like what we have here. My next point is that sound people are your friends. So sound person in the back, Sharon, you are my friend right there. We as sound people sometimes can take a lot of flack. I always say that when we do our best jobs, nobody looks at us because you're in the back. And if you mess up, they always do everybody does the turn, which is always the most daunting thing. If you have one of the collapsible chairs, I always just go down, just like, please don't see me. But try to be nice to them. They're trying their very best to do what they're most of them are volunteers. Very rarely do you find somebody who's actually being paid to do it. They're volunteers who are just trying to serve the Lord in the ways that they know. So be nice to them. But also listen to their new ways and different tactics to improve church services. Most of the time, these people have ideas of what you want to do. I always try to listen to them, see what their plans are. I always ask them, like, what's your plan for changing the sound in the next way? Whether that be, I would rather have this turned up or any of those options. Or whether that be, I really want to go with more lights. Well, let's see what that works. It doesn't mean you have to say yes and put the approval on every single thing. It just means that, let's see what that looks like. And also, the sound people are the boots on the ground for new technologies and see what they're doing. So if you're interested in what what's going on, most sound people kind of know what they want to do and what the capabilities are and the prices. Kind of see where they want to go with that. And also in the opposite sense, swing your ideas by them and see if it's possible in their eyes. Sometimes there are background scenes that you don't know that they're working with that they need to figure out. And if you can just tell them, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think altogether? That's a really great opportunity to do that. So, all right, so I'm going to switch gears a little bit. I have quite a few of these do's and don'ts lists. This is my first one. This is church sound and media do's and don'ts. We want to this is a do have moving backgrounds for words when there are songs. I'm always a big fan of moving backgrounds. However, you don't ever want them to be the super crazy ones. They're usually just kind of a little bit of different movement in the back. It really adds a lot. I don't know why it adds a lot. I think it does. Some multi-site churches or the mega churches, what they do is if they have a large production team, they have live cameras that work, and then that's their moving background is actual, like, people, you can see the people singing and on the cameras. That's the idea for that. Outside of that, I've always been a big fan of moving ones. Actually, one of the places that I like to look for is churchmotionsbackgrounds.com. Most of those are free. It's an awesome website that you can download that other people and other large churches are using for that. So that website again is churchmotionbackgrounds.com. Again, most of those are free. If you pay for them, you don't have to. I don't think for all of them, but I usually just don't. I usually go for the free ones because I'm cheap. So yeah. Okay, don't have your text illegible. When you have pictures and scriptures and things like that, make sure that you can read it from a long distance. If you're in a sound booth, you're usually the farthest person away. If you can't read it, the odds are that other people cannot read it. So if you can read it, everybody else can. That's the idea for that. You want to make sure that it gives them the right volume. You also have to be careful for color on top of text. For example, if you have a yellow background with white words, that is very hard on the eyes, so you'll catch people squinting and things like that. It's very difficult to do that, so try to refrain from doing that. If the most common is to have a dark background with a bright text. That's the most common version of that. What else do I have here? Do make sure your volume is about 90 decibels. Decibels is how we measure sound here in the world. But you want to be careful that you don't blow the people's ears out. That's a big part. But you also don't want it to sound like a whisper. There is a very short little angle there that you want to get into, and it's about 90 decibels that we have. So if you're right around there, you can go up maybe 5 or 10, up or down 5 or 10. But right around that age, people can sing along, and still, the idea is you want to sing in the crowd and pretty much not know that your voice isn't, Anita Redlands or Leanne Runkles. So you're thinking like, wow, I'm such a great singer. I know myself, I'm a terrible singer. But if you have that sound of like, well, I'm singing great, that's usually when I find out like, oh, that's about right where I need to be. At that point, you can't hear what's also going on around you. Because there are a couple distractions. You want to make it engaging to the sound environment. For videos and things like that, it's a little quieter than that. And for a speaking voice, it's about 80 decibels for that, because you don't want to be as loud as a music would be. Don't listen to every single person that says it is too loud. The internet has called them the Karens. I don't know why that has been the name of them, but the Karens are the people who are always complaining that it's too loud. That is common for every single church. If you are a sound guy right now, you have the right judgment. Just stay with the 90 decibel range. If they have a problem, they can move farther back. That's my opinion. And that is a opinion that I take strong as a sound guy. I trust you sound guys to do what you're supposed to. So yeah, that's what that is about. What else do I got here? Have some sort of light in the sanctuary during worship. Sometimes it can get distracting if you just have the regular overhead lights all the way through. Right now, sorry, video people, you can't see, but right here we have different lights that shine onto the stage a little brighter. It makes attention go forward. That's what that is. And most stages have that, whether it be the cool LED ones that we have for worship or just the cans that we have. The cans are really cheap. I bet you can get those for $50 at somewhere pawn shop or something like that. But they work really well about bringing tension forward, having more light on that, and make sure that the people's faces are lit up as well. But also don't make it so bright that people are distracted by it. If you have a light that's like super bright, especially like the speakers, they'll be doing the what's going on here, looking straight into the sun type maneuver. You don't want that. For Stark County and for here, we have like I said, we have these couple of different bars that we have to come down. And one of the key things that we like to do is have a background light during worship times. So we like to have the lights low, but a backlight so that if maybe people are late to church, spoiler alert, that's kind of how that is. But we like to have a light usually in the back or so that people can still walk in and see what's going on without being completely lost or blind. So they can come in, find their seats really easily. And so I know for Stark County Church, we have 2 little lamps that are just sit on the tables. We turn those on for that. And then I know for our Winamac campus, we have lights on the walls there, little sconce lamps. And we turn those on for people to come in and see what we need. So yes, these all are planned. As some of you are thinking, like, this is so in-depth. We've planned this all, haha. But yeah, so we want to make sure that you have, for the worship service, you have the lights moving around. So my point here is don't turn the lights low during the sermon. Having a warm sanctuary with low lights, it's like the same as giving everybody a cup of NyQuil. We don't want to do that, specifically during the preaching part. We like to have the lights low during the worship service. That's kind of what we do. And again, it's more or less for less distractions when you're praising. Instead of seeing, the Karen down the aisle, you're kind of focusing on praising and worshiping. But for the service, you don't want to make it, too, everything's dim and nice and warm and like, I can take a nap here. You don't want them to take a nap here. That's not what the church is for, church services. And it can be, irritating for a speaker when they see that. For the people who do slides and things like that, make sure you test the video before service. Can't tell you how many times that I've failed to do this and then had it come back and bite me in the hiney. But I like to watch every single video all the way through, make sure that there's no errors, just because there can be sometimes videos download wrong or who knows, the technology. So, and nothing can be more embarrassing than when a video cuts before it's supposed to. That is, and that's when you get the death stare of, that's when you get that look. So, all right, so that concludes my church sound do's and don'ts. I hope you guys kind of learned about what we do at Church Sound altogether. It's kind of a cool little part there. We're going to switch, excuse me, to modern communication for kids. So a couple little things about kids is they are learning a lot differently than we are. My generation was like the last generation to not have internet or like born with internet. So my sister, she's 12, about to turn 13. She's had an iPad or a phone pretty much in her hands since she was born. I mean, the idea. I mean, it wasn't like, I'm not going to make that joke. But she's had something like that to watch pretty much all her life. And because of this, humans altogether, our attention spans have dropped like significantly percentage-wise. So you really have to be able to connect with them in how they speak and how they learn. So this is really for kids who are like 16 and under. This is kind of what that kid range would be. The idea for modern communication for kids is to make it fun for them and engaging. That's what we need to do. Kids can take in or not even understand the level that we have as an adult level, is what I would say. I really love Church of the Heartland's type of ministry when we have kids go into their own service and learn and sing their own songs because it adapts to them. If they were in this service, I think they would really have a hard time getting anything from the services. In our kids' ministries, which I've been a part of for a long time, we really do focus on having an engaging lesson with them so that they can learn throughout life. So at school, especially through middle school and even into high school, can be so hard. Their lives are so difficult. It's really good to make sure that they're having the right tools that we can work with for them. And I think that adapting your engagement with kids and how you do that is really important. So when working with modern communication to kids, engagement is key there. Try to make the story of Christ and fun and engaging for the little kids. So we have, one of the cool things that we have is we have different curriculums what church is it? I don't have it. Life Church, lifechurch.tv. They have their own curriculums for kids and they make their own videos and they let us download them and then give them to watch the kids for free. So it's a weekly thing, so they have different topics about what Jesus' life and things like that, but in a modern sense of what would be helpful for the kids. Why do we not pick on kids? Well, Jesus says such and such and such. So that's a really great opportunity that we have for our kids ministry. And a little bit of warning, you're going to have to be goofy because kids are goofy and weird. As an adult, I've figured out how weird kids really are. We have our kids camp, our biannual kids camp. There's a winter and there's also a summer kids camp. Our winter one is here, and we have a dance party that we have here, and it is crazy and so fun. The kids love jumping around to the Christian music and things like that, but they're also learning a lot while they're doing that. They're learning about what Christian songs are and things like that. And they also have different service times where a speaker will come up here and teach them, and be engaging. But one of the biggest things for teaching kids is to be engaging, but also to be visual. Kids, like we said, they're iPad focused, so they need to see, they need to hear. So if you have examples that you can use that are, that they can touch, or that they can see, or that they can hear, that is a huge, huge benefit to moving forward with that. So that's kind of my modern communications for kids. Here is my, real quick, my church do's and don'ts all together. If you're running a church, or you have maybe a leadership position in a church trying to give an opinion, this is what I would do. This is my opinion for how we do church. I stole some of this from Pastor Heath on how he shaped it as well, so this is from some of Pastor Heath's material as well. Churches do and don'ts. How to use social media in a church setting? That's huge. Church pages are really huge for social media and how we use those. The one part that we need to focus on is you have to post frequently. The more that you're in people's faces, not like in their face, but you know what I mean, like in front of their face, the more willing that they're able to engage with that as well. Whether that be going to a service for the first time, or whether that be volunteering for the first time, that is a really big part. Going to a ladies' dinner that for the first time, they know about it because of different types of social media engagement. Try to avoid passive-aggressive signage in the church. My quote here is, it doesn't make it more important to sound like a jerk. That's the idea there. So, I always try to put, if you're doing some type of signage of, hey, this is broken, or please don't use this, just say thank you at the bottom. Those two words they're magic. I don't know why, but it always just makes you like, oh, thank you for not doing this. Okay, I will not do that. But if you have the really scary type of signs, like, I don't even know an example right now. Try not to do that. We are trying to be the full people of Christ. That is hateful types of signage is not the way to go for that. Church mobile apps, it's kind of an interesting thing. They are not really being used. I would really just stick to social media and to our mobile website. If you have a website, that is huge, using a website. Have all your information on there. I can't tell you how many times people have looked up our church, Church of the Heartland, on a website to just get more information about what we do. And then they can decide even from there, I think I want to try this church. That's right there, that's huge. The idea that they can come, before they even come and visit, they kind of know what we do, what we're about. That's a really great opportunity for them. But apps, they really are not taking off like most people thought for churches. There are a couple of churches who are using them, and like I said, those are like mega churches that are doing it, where they can schedule, different types of like ministries together. We wouldn't be able to use that in a rural northwestern Indiana setting. Hillsongs, I think Church of the Highlands down in the south, they use mobile apps sometimes. But us and Church of the Heartland, we would just need our website for that kind of a thing. Now, touchy topic here. Giving. I'm gonna talk about how we do it, kind of what we use. We do an online giving as well as having a kiosk that you can swipe. The idea is that you want to give them more opportunities to benefit your church. That's the idea. So whether that be having a kiosk, we use Square. Square is an awesome tool that you can use. We have an iPad with a stand where they can swipe, and it's very safe and secure. And we also use PayPal for our online transactions, which is, again, a safe and secure way to give. It's also really important to tell the people why it's important to give. The idea for why giving is so important is so that when you bless others, you are also blessed, sowing and reaping. Telling them to frequently is really an awesome, in my opinion, I've seen it work in my own life, an awesome opportunity for that. And then also tell them why and how it's also benefited your giving. So if you tell them, for example, we used a couple of our giving to help remodel. Right now, actually, Plymouth Church is using their giving right now to help remodel their new sanctuary, and telling them, hey, here's what we've gotten done for this week. That's really huge on boosting, like these people are just taking my money. This is not how this is. It's really great to tell them kind of what they're doing for that. And then For the end of that, also tell them that how thankful you are for them. They are giving their 10% of their paychecks and things like that. That is something that you can't just force them. You're supposed to be giving more and more. That's not the way to be thankful for a gift or anything like that. And we don't, as a church, we don't want to be that altogether. We want to be the type of people to encourage giving because it helps benefit you, and we're also helping to build a community here at the church and help build our community out in the world. So that concludes session 3. We'll be back in a few.